So 50 years of being the guitar player for one of the preeminent rock bands ever. And coming to town, Richard Williams, guitar player for Kansas, joins us next because John and Nancy are still talking. All right, I can't tell you what an honor and a privilege this is for me because I'm a total fanboy of Kansas.
You're going to geek out here, John?
I'm geeking out just a bit. Richard, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. This is tremendous. How you doing?
Fine, calm down.
I'm going to tell him that every day, Rich. Every day.
This is very exciting for me. So, I'm not going to beleaguer this point, but, when it was like mid-70s, I guess, something like that, and I'm a musician, and we were all picturing ourselves as rock stars in the mid-70s, and then one of my buddies turned me on to Song for America, your album there, and I had not heard anything from you from the first album, but Song for America was the second album, and I can't remember what song it was first. It might have been Down the Road, I think. Anywho, here's this album that comes out, and how many songs were on that album, Rich? 5? 6?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot on it. Yeah, you could
there
to
was
get a good sounding recording. You could only put about 18, 20 minutes on each side, and we had some long songs. So yeah, it wasn't a lot of material. It was long in time, but short in numbers.
Well, that was my point. These were 13-minute songs with poetry-like lyrics and these insanely intricate musical compositions, and we were just blown away by it. We were just like, okay, this is better than anything on the radio. This is better than anything. And so I've just been a fan of your bands for such a long time, and it's really cool to talk to you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's funny. People talk about that album. I always think about, us when we were recording it. And we had gone to Los Angeles, and we were recording at a place called Wally Hyder's. And we chose that place because Crosby, Stills, Nash had used it, and we liked the vocal blend that they got in that room. So we're there, and of course we stayed at the infamous Riot House. And it just seemed it was our responsibility to live up to the story about what it's like to be in a band staying there. And we were throwing fireworks off the balcony. The police came. I mean, there's so many stories about recording that.
Have you written a book yet about all the stories, Rich? You should probably.
Oh, no. It'd be a big one. And people always think, well, I wish I was in that think tank as they were creating these things. And it's like, the truth is so far from that. We get out of the studio and get back to the hotel about 1:30, 2 o'clock at night, and we're still wound up from working. And behind the Hyatt House there, they had a basketball goal, so we bought a basketball. Well, at the same time, that's when all the hookers were kind of getting off work.
What great timing!
and so we're back there in the parking lot playing basketball. We're like, 5 of us and 5 hookers in high heels. I mean, I would pay anything to have a film of that.
This is what I'm talking about, Rich. The stories you
short
must have.
Shorts and laced.
Oh my gosh.
It was.
So what
it just seemed normal to us. It was just, and it wasn't a sexual thing. It was just people from different walks of life.
Yeah.
Kind of letting off steam after work.
For sure. But you missed out on the opportunity to call the album Song for America Basketball and Hookers. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that could have changed the trajectory in a downward spiral.
So Kansas is coming on their 50th anniversary tour. They're going to be here in Peoria November 8th. Richard Williams, of course, original guitar player for Kansas, has been on every single album. Phil Ehart is still with the band, correct? He's still playing drums with you guys?
He is currently not. Phil, a couple of months back, had a widowmaker heart attack.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so, fortunately, just right across the street from where they development where he lives was a hospital, and they got to him quick.
Good.
Wow.
And Phil's doing great. He's doing PT every other day, and he's playing drums every other day.
Very cool. Do you guys ever, you both have been at it for so long.
He's gotten a pretty clean bill of health. It's just, they're watching him for a while. So his protege is playing with us until then, which is Eric Holmquist, who has been Phil's drum tech for 25 years.
Oh, cool. So,
and he's a great drummer, and he's sat behind Phil, every show, mimicking him, so he jumped right up and is doing a fantastic job.
So do you and Phil just look at each other every now and then and shake your head and go, 50 years of Kansas?
Well, it's been longer than that for Phil and I, because the first band I was ever in was with Phil in high school.
Wow. What was your name?
So, the Pets.
The Pets.
Yeah. And we played, it was, the British invasion was big at the time, and we leaned that way, covering that kind of material. After the first band, I took guitar lessons the summer before my junior year in high school, and then formed a band, once school started with two friends, and then met Phil at a music store, and he was the fourth.
That's so cool. So, did you guys?
66, we've been together.
So, that was in Topeka. Is that where you guys were from originally?
Yes.
So, other than the fact that you were from Topeka, once everybody got together, why the name Kansas?
You're in a band, and about every 6 months, the bands change. They mutate. You're playing with these guys, and then some of these guys and some of those guys are in the band, and so it's this constant mutation. Then you start to get into the college age. Well, a lot of the musicians, they're more, they're working on the college stuff. Well, that wasn't really for us. And a lot of musicians are under the pressure of getting a real job. And so it started to thin the herd. And so putting a band together, we just kind of fell together as being sort of the last man standing of our peer group. And also what drew us together was the common goal of we wanted to write our own material, and we didn't want to be a copy band anymore. And we wanted to maybe get a record deal and make an album and break out of the local bar scene and into there was kind of a larger Midwestern circuit. It was just bigger bars that all of our older peers we wanted to emulate. And we thought if we could do that, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you did get out of the bar scene.
That first, what's that?
You did get out of the bar scene, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's that was our lofty goal, was to record an album, and so our highest possible dreams we'd achieved at that point. And so ever since the first album, everything's been icing on the cake, really.
Yeah, I know, it's fantastic. So we're talking with Richard Williams, the original guitar player for Kansas. They're coming to town Friday, November 8th. You can get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com. They're waiting there for you. You guys, what we liked about you when I was a kid, we liked it that you were so different. You weren't anything like anything that was playing on the radio. There was like this amazing composition. They got a violin going on in there. I mean, it's all this stuff that's really interesting. And then all of a sudden, along comes Left Overture, and I didn't hear anything on the radio but that song for a while. Carry On Wayward Son. That was such a massive record. What was that like going from, making an album to having this massive hit? How did that affect you guys?
Well, it was, with the first album, we started getting on tours with nationally known acts. And in the second album, that we more of the same, and then headlined a few little things. Third album comes out, and we were slowly climbing the ladder. And then Left Overture just blew the doors down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suddenly, we're playing Madison Square Garden. we knew going in that we had some really good material, and we were recording at that time in Bogalusa, Louisiana. We'd recorded the first album in New York, second album in Los Angeles. There was too many distractions. And so we thought, let's find the most remote place we could find, and that's when we went down to Louisiana, where there was nothing to do but work on the album.
Oh, come on. Louisiana has hookers and basketball.
Well, that's true in New Orleans, but we were we were at the other side of Pontchartrain.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so we just spending all that time. We could there was just a feeling among everybody that this was good, but it wasn't really until we had everything recorded and put in order, and just sat back and listened to the record. And when it was done, we thought, this is going to be a game changer. I mean, and we're holding up the phone to the speakers to Don Kirshner, and he's listening to it. He's all excited. And Wayward Son exploded. And
I know, that's just amazing. That's amazing. And 30 million records later. I mean, you guys have sold 30 million records. And actually, here it is in the 21st century, with digital everything. It's probably just the amount of people that hear you now is probably infinitely more than when you were getting your big radio hits, right?
Oh, sure. And a big game changer for us also in recent times was Wayward Son being the official theme song for Supernatural.
There you go.
Yeah, that ran for 15 seasons, and is in syndication all around the world. And about 8-10 years ago, we started noticing a much younger crowd, especially up in front of the stage. It's like, what are these 14-year-old girls doing up here and stuff? It didn't make any sense.
Free off a little bit.
And so we, why are you here? It's Supernatural.
Yep.
And I'd heard of the show, but I'd never really seen it. And that had, people were fans of the song, and they started looking deeper into our catalog, and they, through that, became familiar with a lot of our material, and they became Kansas fans. So our age group, now those people are 15 years later, and they're 30 years old, and they're still coming.
Fantastic.
Nice.
So Supernatural, you guys did Reacher. Your music was on South Park. I remember it for The Office, The Simpsons. Even Happy Gilmore has Kansas music in it. So concerts, tours, records. Is there any part of music and pop culture and television and movies and anything that you've missed out on? Is there something you haven't done yet?
Not really. Dancing with the Stars. I haven't done that yet.
And you haven't written your book, doggone it.
Yeah,
Nancy wants you to write the
I
book.
want to hear those stories for sure.
So how do you? So this is 50 years in, and how old are you, Richard? I don't, if you don't mind me asking.
74.
Okay, 74 years old, right? So I just went and saw a show with my friend Willie Nile from New York. He's 75. He's still strapping a guitar on and coming out and playing, and he's great, and he feels great, and he still says he's really inspired and everything. 74 years old, you've been at this so long, and 50 years with this band. How do you stay inspired every year to kind of just keep going?
Well, I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. That was it. I wanted to be in a band. And it was all started very innocently. I just wanted to get together with, a few friends and make music. It was fun, something to do. And, we had the band. All of a sudden you're making, $100 a night, playing at Teen Town at Forbes Air Force Base. And $100, split with four guys back then was, that was a lot of course I was underage, but it was still a lot of cigarette and beer money.
$25 went pretty far back then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it was the joy of just making music with your friends.
Yeah.
And that camaraderie of being on a team really appealed to everything about me. And as our peers start wandering off into the real world and the job market, we wanted nothing to do with that. We wanted to keep making music. And how long is this going to last? You had no idea.
Right.
10 years, I was still wondering what my real job was going to be. I think the 30-year mark, it became apparent to me that this seems to be what I'm going to be doing.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
At 40 years, it was absolute.
Yeah.
Now at 50 years, I'm too old to do anything else. I'm past retirement age. I could be a Walmart greeter, I guess.
So your inspiration is to never have a real job. I love it.
Well, I worked in a liquor store for when I was in college for one year. I worked at this liquor store, but I became an alcoholic. So that really wasn't a very good
it's not a good combo
for me. And had I not done this, I'd probably be still playing in a bar in Topeka somewhere and a drunk. Fortunately, I quit drinking 15 years ago.
Good for you, Rich. Richard Williams is joining us on the podcast today, original guitar player for Kansas. And so now, over the years, here come new guys, you know what I mean? And to fill out the band around you and Phil. What is the mindset of these guys that come in and join Kansas? Are they just like super fans of Kansas, or are they just looking for a gig, or what's the mindset of the new crew?
Well, we're always when someone decides to leave, Phil and I have a good sense of what we are, and we'll find players that are like-minded.
Gotcha.
Not more than just familiar with us. They know what we're trying to accomplish. Like when we added Zach Risby to the band, he was an engineer that we had hired to work on the symphonic album that we did. And as we got to know him, we found out he was a really good guitar player, and then we found out he was this unbelievable songwriter. And so, as you get to know people, probably said, we asked him if he wanted to be in the band, and he said yes before we even finished the question.
Wow, that's handy.
So Zach did two records with us, and then he left. But Zach is coming back. He'll be back actually starting next weekend. Zach Risby is back in the band.
It's really interesting how this works these days. You know what I mean? It's just really interesting. How Kansas is a thing, and Kansas is this thing, and it's 50 years of this thing.
It's a tangible thing.
Yeah.
That really, Phil and I are the ones that know exactly what that thing is.
You're the core. So here it is. You've been on the road for so long, and this is kind of a procedural question, and won't keep you much longer. But this is just kind of a procedural question. So how does it work now? Are you still getting on a bus and doing dates,
God, no.
or do you just fly in and out, or how does that work?
Yeah, in the 90s, we bust, and I call that the dark ages. I can't.
Well,
I don't remember much about it. I was drunk, and B, we're playing. Classic rock had not made a rebound yet, and so we were still, living in we were the dinosaurs dying out. So we were playing small clubs, like 5 nights a week. Because buses were expensive, you had to play almost every night just to pay your overhead.
Yeah.
And you would pull up to the back of a club and walk off the bus and on the stage and play, walk back out the back door and repeat. And so became nothing memorable about it. And we had enough of that. Phil and I had we took a couple of years off, and we said, when we do this again, it has to be two things. It has to be fun, it has to be profitable.
Right.
And that's been our credo ever since. And being on a bus with a bunch of smelly guys who just got off stage, along with the crew.
Yeah.
One guy gets a cold. You're in an incubator. Everybody gets sick. You're away from home constantly, and that really became extremely tedious.
Yeah.
And so we came up with what we call the Kansas mode, where we work pretty much all year. This is a typical weekend. I will leave on a Thursday afternoon and fly to the destination of the show on Friday. We'll play the show, have the second show close enough that we can drive to on Saturday. Sunday, fly home.
Oh, great.
Okay, yeah.
That's how you do it.
We play Friday, Saturday, and do that all year.
That is so great.
Summer comes up, and it gets a little different because there's festivals, fairs.
Yeah.
Since we're all on the East Coast, when we go out west, that doesn't work as well. So we'll stay there for a few weeks.
Well, we're really happy.
Out.
We are super happy that you are making Peoria a stop on your Kansas mode destination this time around. It's so great. November 8th is when the show rolls in. I noticed your tour, like a lot of the tours here, like Aerosmith and some of these others that are out with their final tour. There's no final on your concert poster. There's no final on the tour thing. How long does this go on?
I don't know. But what I do know is, next year we've got big plans, and it's all being filled in right now.
Wow. Okay.
And so we don't talk about the end. There's no point in talking about it. This last year has probably been the best year we've ever had.
That's fantastic. I love that. I think that's
most of the shows are selling out way in advance. We're adding a lot of second shows to a lot of cities. It's the best job in the world. So people ask, when are you going to retire? And what would you have me do?
Right.
I wandered around the house mumbling and longing for the good old days. I'm living in the good old days.
Oh, I love that.
And I love being with the guys. And my wife travels with me everywhere. We are joined at the hip. And so we get to share all this life together everywhere we go.
That is so cool.
And it's a good balance. We're on the road, and we get to spend, 3-4 days at home, and then back on the road, and so back and forth. And it's a very exciting, full, busy life.
I love it. And you know what?
My retirement is that if you are a really good golfer, I think retirement would be a good thing for you because, that's all you would do is play golf.
Yeah.
I don't see well, and I'm not that interested.
Yeah.
So since golf is off, that means I just sit around and watch, CNN all day.
Well, keep doing Kansas,
Yeah,
Richard.
for
Just
sure.
keep doing Kansas as long as you possibly can. I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to chat with you. I knew you were going to be a great guy. I just knew you were going to be a nice guy. I could just tell. Everybody in the band seems to be so affable and love what they do, and that's really the key to it.
Well, you leave it on the stage.
Yeah.
I'm not that different now than I was, when I was in high school. It's just what I do. But I don't have a big ego, and I don't need it really stroked. It's just not really been a part of me. I play guitar because I do it for me.
Yeah.
Well, whether you like it or
not for the adorations of others. It's just that I love messing around with equipment and guitars. That's what I do in my spare time. Is I'm always working on tone and getting different equipment and testing things out. Talking with other musicians about how did you do this? What amp are you using here? I'm always searching.
Love it.
To make things better, and so that's what I do. I guess if I retired, maybe I'd open a music store.
I'd come buy a guitar from you. Listen, Richard Williams, guitar player for Kansas, Coming to town November 8th with the band. That's Friday, November 8th. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com. You still have the chance to make the final Kansas album, Hookers and Basketball. If you want to do that, I think that would be the best name for the final album, just to wrap it all up.
Well, maybe I'll do a solo album.
Hey, listen, our best to Phil. Tell him to get well soon. And we will chat with you again maybe closer to showtime, and see you when you get here. Travel safely. And, you've been rocking me since high school, man. I really appreciate talking to you.
Well, thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Have a great day.
Bye, Rich.
You too.
See you, bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. How about that? The latest rock star to join us.
You didn't geek out too bad.
Oh, man. I could have talked to him for an hour. Anyway, we like having rock stars on. That's fun. And we'll look forward to Kansas getting here. We'll have another rock star on at some point in time, because if you keep listening,
We'll keep talking.
to rock stars. See you next time.
Bye.